Yeah, what's up folks? I'm back in the car and this is a quick video on behalf of my good friends in Australia, because guess what? They seem to be going through it again in the so-called lucky country. So I've had word from a very good friend in Australia that tyranny has returned in the form of, wait for this one, fire ants. Who knew that these creatures posed such a problem to life in Australia? How have the indigenous people and the settlers coped these past several centuries? Because all of a sudden it's become a real problem having these fire ants on people's private property, apparently. So government forces have been going into people's properties without their consent and insisting on eradicating this apparent infestation of fire ants with toxic chemical substances. In many cases, reportedly, they've been breaking into people's properties. They've been severing locks, padlocks, and forcing their way onto people's land. When this incursion has been met with resistance, they've encountered violent opposition from these thugs who've been sent out to do this job. Many people have reported that the toxic nature of the chemicals being used to treat this terrible problem of fire ants is causing problems such as sinking into the water table and affecting other forms of wildlife. I've got a story here from the Australian mainstream. Mystery syndrome killing rainbow lorikeets and flying foxes leaves scientists baffled. Not very clever, are they? Thousands of rainbow lorikeets and hundreds of flying foxes have been hospitalised in Queensland in the past year with a mysterious paralysis that can affect the animal's ability to fly and even breathe. So this is a problem that seems to be affecting southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, but you can bet that if it started there, it's going to be rolled out to other parts of Australia, to other states. Because unfortunately that land, as amazing as it is, I've had many beautiful experiences in Australia, but I realise that it's used as a testing ground for what the establishment, the controllers, wish to roll out to other countries. So they perfect the method in Australia and then try and do it everywhere else. So people might think, oh, this is a problem that doesn't affect me. And those of us in other countries might think, oh, well, we don't get infestations of fire ants here. But it seems this exercise is being used to test compliance. A few years after COVID, it's being used to see how readily people will acquiesce to authority and roll over and give up their rights and freedom once again. But it does seem to be a very personal battle in terms of the way it's being fought, because the authorities are trying to force their way onto people's private property, and when it gets that personal and that close to home, resistance and kickback can be expected, and happily that has begun. I'm encouraged to hear of many people forming groups and coalitions and standing in solidarity with each other to see off this threat. So it's fairly clear to see what the ultimate agenda is. They're trying to force people off of their land, particularly those that have farms and homesteads and large acres of land, and into the cities, the 15-minute cities, in line with the New World Order master plan of herding people into these places, having them controlled by AI and social credit systems and the smart grid and all this stuff, getting people off the land. They've been wanting to do this for ages as part of their Agenda 2030, and they seem to have concocted this excuse to get people away from their property. But really, how readily do they think people are going to fall for this? As I say, resistance is taking place, and long may that continue, and let's hope this plan can be put in the ground, excuse the pun, before it really goes any further. So a good friend of mine in Australia has created a public notice to get word out to the rest of Australia and the rest of the world. There's a guy called Trevor Hold who's extremely knowledgeable about the whole program and how to treat this apparent problem naturally. He's the advocate for a lot of Australians that have been threatened and bullied by the thugs in the programme. So this PDF, this public notice, is available for anyone to download. I've posted it up on my Mediafire page, and the link is in the notes below to where you can grab a copy of this PDF. Also in the notes below are some other helpful resources, some videos that have been made online, and some other people talking about this issue and how to take action against it. So I'd encourage people to take a look at these, get up to speed with what's happening in this beautiful land of Australia, and let's put this one down. Let's send out another clear message, just the way so many of us did in the COVID years, that we're just not having it. They can tweak their plans, they can come back under whatever guise, whatever excuse they choose, but the answer is always going to be the same. We're not having it. Our rights and our freedom are our own. They're not for sale, they're not for negotiation, so do one. That's putting it politely. So I wasn't aware of any of these problems arising in Australia until my friend there told me. Apparently, people that have been speaking out about it in Australia have been threatened with arrest. So there's open tyranny for you. So for that reason, many residents in Australia and many media makers, video posters, are having to keep silent about this for fear of being arrested. Just imagine that. So it's largely down to many of us in other parts of the world to raise awareness of this one, and that's why I'm doing this video.